and welcome back to the SquareXO podcast. We are on episode 100. Woo! Yay! No one else cheered, so that just
Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted
a
this
bit.
to like
Well, I thought maybe you would. Anyway,
Do it again, and we'll cheer.
okay, right.
I was
start
like,
recording again entirely, or just
No. People can hear this. It's fine.
episode 100. Woo!
Yay!
That was the most. Anyway, so for episode 100, we thought we would get back some of the kind of SquareXO alum, or in fact, the kind of one of the people that started SquareXO. So we have Dan.
Hello.
Their name I don't actually know, but my name is Dan on Twitter. It's a secret. So I thought for a second you said it was secret. That's a kind of Dan the Secret. That's awesome. It would be. It's not though. It's a shame. And then we have Rebecca Stowe.
Hello.
So we have kind of a few different voices today from all kind of blast from the past, which is kind of nice. But yeah, so we thought we'd do something a bit, well, not different, same kind of layout of the podcast, but we thought we would just invite some kind of old faces or old voices back, just to kind of mix it up. So we will, the kind of usual stuff. So make sure you are following us on kind of Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere that you young kids listen to kind of podcasts. Make sure you follow and like and 5-star rate us, all of that fun stuff. Moving straight into it, I think the big bit of news this week is the Nintendo Switch Lite, which was announced, which is, we kind of knew it was coming, but I don't know about you guys, I literally had a pop-up on Twitter going, Nintendo Mini Switch Lite announced, and I was like, what? That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't expect it this week. I don't know why, but yeah.
No, I mean, I would have thought they would have done a kind of direct and done it then.
Yeah, kind of drop some new footage for a game or something, and then be like, oh, and by the way, now you can get this too, or this is coming too. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's, I personally, I have a normal Switch and I will not be getting a Switch Lite. I keep wanting to call it a mini, but it's the Lite. I think it's a good transition from the DS to the Switch for people who maybe want to spend a little bit much less money, or maybe who already have a Switch but want another one. I think I personally have some issues with the fact that the Joy-Cons don't detach, because the main appeal originally for the Switch was, drop it and play anywhere. You can pull them off and play with your friends. But no, I think it's a really good idea. The lower price point, I mean, it's £200 in the UK, $200 in America, and I think it's about €200 as well. With the Pokemon one as well coming out, which is quite nice. Don't know how much that one is though.
I'm really sorry. I've got to say that someone outside is doing some drilling. It's not me.
You just kind of like, you know what, while I do a podcast, like handiwork.
Been to IKEA and building some shelves. Sorry, I apologise.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. The whole point of the Switch is the fact that you can switch between handheld and kind of docked mode. But I understand that there's a market for it, and lots of people are moaning that there's no Vita anymore. So maybe this is the point where they can make the jump to handheld gaming with Nintendo.
It does look a little bit like, I don't know if you guys saw, the Vita that came out in kind of like Japan and stuff, but didn't come out here, the kind of coloured ones.
I've got one. Yeah, blue one.
It looks to me a little bit like that. Obviously it doesn't look the same, but it kind of was that kind of whole molded one unit kind of thing. They've also changed the D-pad on the left hand side is now an actual D-pad rather than just buttons, she says.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's 4 dots on the standard Switch, and now it's a proper D-pad.
Which was never an issue for me, but I know some people kind of preferred like kind of having a proper D-pad. So it's a cool idea. I think the market that it is for isn't necessarily the market that already have Switches. I think we've had people I've spoken to people who are like, oh, I'll trade mine in for it, and I'm like, why? It's okay. It's a bit smaller. It's a 5.5-inch screen rather than a 6.2, which it's a bit smaller. But I've never personally found Switch too bulky. Like if I take it out and about, it's never kind of cumbersome in any way, in my opinion. But I don't know if you guys disagree or anything like that.
Well, I think it's interesting because I don't have a Switch, and I've always kind of thought, oh, when they announced the next Switch version, because it was inevitable that they were going to announce a updated version, I was thinking, oh, I'll probably get whatever they do as an updated version. But it is really, it feels, I know it's not, but it feels like a downgrade not having the docking mode available.
I mean, it is though. Like, okay, the machine is just as powerful. but yeah, it is like it's the same with the Xbox. I was about to call it the sad then, the One S all digital.
Sad.
Yeah, because it's One S all digital,
Oh, I
SED.
see.
Yeah, it's kind of the nickname that it's picked up, but I shouldn't call it that. I'm sorry, Microsoft. Um, it's that was kind of slightly cheaper compared to the One S, but I just kind of go, but if you can have the you know, the extra features for a little bit more, why wouldn't you? Is always kind of my standpoint. But I again, I'm not the kind of market for that, so I kind of get it.
Imagine that this is probably going to sell quite well with parents who want to get their kids a Switch but want to get them something that doesn't come with as many accessories. Obviously, you're not going to have the dock that you're going to have to worry about taking back and forth from places. And it's really good for, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I used to always play on my DS in the car on holiday.
Yeah.
You know, it's basically a Switch that has just been perfectly manufactured for people who primarily use their Switches on the go and maybe use their consoles on the screen. You know, might think, oh well, I want a portable console and I've already got home consoles, so I don't need to worry about buying a Switch that I can use as both because I've already got things for that. So I you know, it will sell, people will buy it. It's just, I don't know if it's something that I would consider buying now that I know that you can't dock it, because especially as a reviewer, so many of your sites will say, oh, let us know what it's like in docked mode compared to handheld. I wouldn't be able to do that as a reviewer.
Yeah,
it's definitely an entry point console.
Yeah.
It's almost like the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, but done backwards.
Yeah,
So,
it's that kind of one. It's like a DS Pro almost. They've kind of you've gone up from a DS but down slightly from a Switch. The one thing that gets me is that it's the battery life isn't that. I mean, what they say is the Switch I think is 2.5 to 6 hours, and this is 3 to 7.
Yeah.
That's not, considering it's a purely kind of handheld console, to me that doesn't feel like enough of a battery life.
I'd say it's comparable with the Vita that I've got, though. That won't last much longer than 5 or 6 hours. I think
a good shout.
A small battery like that. Same with an iPhone, I suppose. If you've got a video streaming on your iPhone for 5 or 6 hours, you're going to kill your battery, aren't you? So
yeah,
that's a good shout. For me, I was like, it could have maybe, but then I suppose if it's smaller, they've then got less room, so the battery has to be. There's all these kind of things that play into it. But yeah, so I mean, let us know what you guys think about the Switch Lite. Are you going to be getting one? I will say the colours are really nice.
I like the colours.
The grey, the turquoise, and the yellow. The grey one, I love grey, and I kind of saw that and was like, I want it. I want it a little bit.
Have you guys seen the Pokemon one?
Yes,
I like that. With the 2 different coloured buttons.
Love it. If I didn't have a Switch, that might convince me just purely because it's limited edition, and I have I'm a big Pokemon fan, so I've got the limited edition Xerneas and Yveltal DS. I didn't get the Sun and Moon one, but I kind of want that just because it's a Pokemon one, but I have to be a rational adult and go like, I already have the superior console. I don't need the downgrade that just because it's got pretty things on it. But it does have pretty things on it, so I probably will, knowing me. Which was rumored to be an American exclusive, but I believe it is now in the UK. I think there are retailers. I know Game have it, so we are getting it in the UK, which is good. But yeah, so moving on, we will talk about today's. Unless you guys got anything more about the Switch Mini or the Switch Lite you want to talk about?
Not particularly. Kind of
covered it well.
We kind of covered it, yeah. There's not. I think we kind of wait now. It's September 20th, though. Actually, I'll just point that out to anyone if anyone wants to know when it's out. I'm guessing the Pokemon Switch will be when Pokemon comes out a bit later in the year in November. But yeah, moving on to the topic. So today's topic, we thought we would do something kind of it's always fun, isn't it? Talking about our kind of epic gaming moments, those kind of moments in games that you just sit back and you go, wow. Or kind of, in my case, you jump up and down and you make kind of inhuman noises. And because there's a few games where so the Breath of the Wild, the Zelda 2 announcement, the noise that I made when they announced that wasn't a human noise. It was some kind of like alien thing. But there are times in games where I have literally just I couldn't human, and therefore so Becky, do you want to start?
Yeah, most of mine are like endings, so I'll go for one that's not an ending. I feel like video games kind of put a lot of effort into making the last quarter of the game full by throwing in really intense moments. Mine's kind of inspired by a previous release, something that's been recently released last week. I think Becca knows what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
It's the house in What Remains of Edith Finch, and I have played that game like 10, 11, maybe even 12 times.
It's such a good game.
I will always be just open mouth, just amazed at the structure of the house. Like, it's one of these things that you look at it and you can already tell that the stories inside are going to just excel. It's, built from the ground up, and it's a normal house, but then they've kind of added new extensions to it and new floors, and it's become this twisted kind of tower in the middle of the woods. And like I said, it doesn't matter how many times I go and play that game, I'm always, if I'm looking at it from the outside, if I'm inside and I'm exploring it and slowly working my way up, I'm always so wowed over by the house, just because it's got so much character. And in What Remains of Edith Finch, you are essentially the sole character. It's just Edith telling her story, but at times the house feels like it has a character of its own because of all the stories collected inside it. And I mean, I love that game. I played it, when it came out, and then it was really weird actually. I was with Jack outside, and Jack's my boyfriend, and we were talking about Edith Finch, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if Edith Finch came to the Switch? And I checked the news, and the news had broken an hour ago. I was like, that is the weirdest thing.
So you get to play it again, possibly.
Play it again. Me and Jack are actually going to do a podcast about it on our Game Chats podcast when we played it.
I've not played it yet.
Oh, you should play it.
I don't know if I added
Becca
it.
wasn't sure.
It was on PS Plus, wasn't it? I don't think I added it to my library, though.
It's currently on sale, I think, on the PSN store for not super. I don't know how much it is, because I kind of own it. But no, if you'd have told me this time last year that I would enjoy like indie walking simulators, I think Becky mentioned it, and I was like, oh god, that sounds horrible.
Who are you?
Yeah. I kind of, it wasn't my kind of game, and I'm wrong. I'm sorry, indie developers, I love you. But back kind of when Becky mentioned it the first time, I was like, I don't really know. It's not a big grand adventure. I don't. And I was wrong on so many levels. And yes, you can save that clip, people on the internet. I said I was wrong. And it's this. I mean, it was on my list too, so I will not talk about it. But it's just this harrowing story, and it's just so well done. I kind of don't really have enough words to talk about how fantastic
that's how I
game
feel. I'm like, I did it for my indie update actually today, and I was like, I must remember to keep this below 150 words, and I could just see myself writing more and more and more, because everything about it is, I don't know, like you said, there's not enough words to talk about it. No. The story's so much deeper than it seems on the surface, and I remember intricate details from when I played back in 2017. Like, I could tell you scene for scene what happens, because it had such an impact on me, and I was wowed that this amazing story was fitted inside this tiny little indie game. So you should play it, Dan.
Yeah, maybe when I've kind of it's just time, isn't it? There's so much to do.
But it's only like, I mean, I did it.
Like 2 hours long.
I remember Becky has the physical copy because she ordered it from America. So she gave it to me, I think after work one night, and I went home and I put it in, and I was like, I'll give this a little go. I finished it in a sitting. I think it was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's not
I got up, I made some dinner, and then I finished it through again, because I was like, I need to play this again. That was just so good. So I played it twice in one night, and it so good. Please play it.
I'll add it to the list.
We'll get it you for your birthday. There you go.
Yeah,
no excuse not to play it.
I'll double check it's not in my library first.
Okay, that's a good shout. Otherwise, I'd be like, here's some PSN credit, and you're like, I don't need it, thanks.
You can always find a need for PSN credit.
I mean, that's true. There's always good. There's Night in the Woods is on there at the minute, Becky, and I'm like looking at it going, but I have so many games to play. It's not even funny.
You should give that a go. Let's not talk about Night in the Woods, because that's another one I can just go off about for hours.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah, we will.
Do you want me to? Shall I go next, or do you want to do your next one? Do you want to do this like circular, or should we do?
I don't mind. If you guys, because I still like kind of trying to work on what I want to say. So if you guys want to rotate.
So I'll do one of mine. And this comes, I think, as no surprise to anybody. Is The Last of Us.
That's one of mine. Yeah.
But this moment, it's kind of a different moment. So it's not actually from the main game. It's from the DLC, so Left Behind, which the ending of that was wonderful and sad and everything. But the moment that really got me was the first time you hear a clicker. So the way, I mean, it's probably a bit different for people who played it all in one. I played Last of Us when it came out, and then Left Behind, I think it was maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. And you're at the beginning of the DLC, you're kind of in this like abandoned, like open mall, and you go into one of the kind of shops, but the shutter's kind of down, and you kind of just have. And for me, the way it played out is this clicker just. I saw its feet, and I heard that. I'm not going to make the noise, but
Dolphin
the noise.
Yeah, the dolphin.
And just the hairs on the back of everything. Just it was that moment of this game is so well done at building that kind of that fear and that horror, and the sound design is done so well that even just those couple of notes of that whatever noise is was just such a that I mean that entire game, The Last of Us, is, if you never played it, please do, because it is wonderful. But just that moment of, oh God, I forgot how horrible those were.
Yeah.
And I've now got to play through again. It just was so well done, and I just love that game. I'm so excited for number 2. I cannot physically wait for it. Please release it now, Naughty Dog.
Please be good.
Please be good. I'm sure. I mean, from everything we've seen, I feel like
has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's on my list too, and it was more, rather than it being a kind of OMG moment or whatever, it was more the game as a whole, just the world that it created. I just love. I keep every now and then I keep getting like feelings that I just want to go back and just wander around like that about the abandoned houses bit, or the office block towards the start where there's all the clickers on one of the floors and you've got to kind of navigate up through all the broken floors of the office. Just the being in that world, for me, it's just incredible what they've achieved, the atmosphere. And I don't think I have ever played a game like it since either, that just creates a digital world that feels like it's real. And I can't wait for the second one, and I really hope, and I trust Naughty Dog not to, but I really hope they've not just done it because they can. I hope there's like a good narrative there, and they continue the amazing story of the first one. That's mine. I agree with you. The noises though that the clickers make.
Unsettling, isn't it?
It's so well done though, because you don't even have to have like seen them. It was just that moment of, you hear it through a wall and you're like, no, I don't like this. I already I've not even seen you, but I know what you are, and I don't like it.
Did you do any of the multiplayer?
I did a little bit. I'm not a big fan of third-person multiplayer. I love first-person multiplayer games. Third-person, I'm bad at it, if I'm being honest, and I don't like it. I've heard it's really good though.
It is, because you have to be cooperative. You have to work as a team and you have to talk. So if you like multiplayers where you can just kind of be a solo ranger and do what you want, it's not really for that. But I play with people that I follow on Twitter and stuff now as well, and it's a really good experience when you've got a group of 5 of you, and like one of you's the back marker and the sniper, and someone's going ahead and you get someone sneaking around the edge with a knife and stuff. It's a really good kind of bit of teamwork. It's completely different to the main game, but again, the kind of the world that it's in, it makes you feel like you are scavenging for the last pieces of humanity. It's good.
Oh,
I kind of hope though that they don't put it in the second one, because it's been done. I don't think a game like that always needs multiplayer. I mean, look at God of War; it doesn't have multiplayer. No. Don't do it for the sake of it. But
I think that's a lot of people are doing that now, aren't they? Let's multiplayer, and you're like, you didn't really, okay, sure.
It's a trend, isn't it? It's like Battle Royale. Everything's doing Battle Royale now.
Anyway, Tetris Battle Royale, that's a whole other thing. Becky.
Yeah, cool. This one's a bit spoiler. I'm not going to actually say any spoilers, but mine is another one that I'll always remember being shocked by, is the twist in Bioshock.
Stop picking all of my things.
We can share. We'll share it.
That's okay.
Not just the twist though. I mean, the world as well. So the world of the Rapture. The first time you go down there, you're kind of like, because above the sea you can't see anything, and when you get down into the Rapture, it's this massive underwater city, and there's lights going, and there are all these rooms and open areas that have just been abandoned. And I think the entire atmosphere of that is probably one of the best atmospheres I felt in game. I felt really immersed in that, and the music elevated it. And I remember the first time I met a splicer on the ceiling, and I thought, oh, is that a cutscene? And I was like, oh no, that's just that guy's just running around, randomly as he does, and the story's really good. But then when you get to the twist, and I'm not saying anything about the twist because I think it's something that people should experience for themselves. But it was one of those things where I didn't see it coming at all. Mouth open in shock. I was completely did not see it coming. It's one of those things where I think I squealed. I was like, no, really?
I think I need to play it again.
Yeah.
Because everyone talks so highly of it, and I can't remember it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like being that good.
I imagine. I think for me, because I played it in I played way too much of that game in one day, like 1 or 2. I think I finished it in like 5 days. It was pretty much like sat down, played it, sat there for 5 hours, came out the next day, did the same thing, and I felt really invested in the story. I think it helped for me as well that I'd been doing a lot of reviewing of indie games and like things that are like an hour long, and you don't really have chance to really get into the character development or get involved in the narrative because it's kind of over as soon as it's begun. There's nothing wrong with that. I like indie games for that, but this was like the first lengthy game that I'd played in a long time that had a really gripping narrative. So when kind of the world got turned upside down, I was like, oh my god, I had no idea. It really pulled the rug from underneath me, and I'll never forget like how I felt in that moment.
Yeah, Ken Levine is the kind of the master of doing that. I think for me, Bioshock Infinite is my favorite of the 3, which no one else really agrees with. I think everyone else says 1, 3, and then 2. I'm 3, 2, 3, 1, 2. Is my favorite order, but my Bioshock moment was the end of Infinite. I will again don't really want to spoil it, but that I kind of went, what on earth? And then kind of had to Google it and go on Reddit and look at all the kind of theories and stuff, because there was just so much that I didn't really understand, but I loved it kind of nonetheless.
Yeah, it's like when you watch a good film and you want to find out a bit more about, like you say, the backstory or where they were or who was that, and so much world behind what you own, so much more than just what you see.
Yeah, but what I also kind of loved is, have you played Infinite? No. So it's really obvious when you go back and play it. There's I don't really want to say what the signs are, but there's things all over the place that point towards the ending, and you kind of go, how did I miss that? Like, how? Yeah. Okay. And then what gets even better is with Infinite, they did Burial at Sea Part 1 and 2, which were the DLCs, and Burial at Sea Part 2. Again, there's this kind of turns the world on its head moment where you're like, excuse me, what? No, you can't tell me one thing and then do it. Just, I loved it. I love the Bioshock games, and they are so good. As Rebecca said, that kind of the splicer moment, the bit in the first one when you come down and that splicer's like, is something new this way comes, or something like that, and it's just that the Bioshock original one, the first one, took me such a long time to play because I was so scared. And the Big Daddies were really hard, but I remember being this is when it originally came out, so quite a few years ago. I remember being terrified of those splicers, and they're just creepy, and they're just, those in that entire series is just so good at atmosphere and kind of creating those moments of, I don't really want to play this, but I do.
But you can't help yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a great game. It reminds me of like Resident Evil 2 with Mr. X, when you're like, I hate this, but also this is great.
Yeah. Good old Mr. X.
Oh God, don't.
Can't beat him, can you?
I hadn't played the original Resident Evil games. So 2 was actually the second Resident Evil game I'd ever played. So I'd done 7 and then 2. So I didn't know about Mr. X. So that was really fun, guys.
Yeah.
And then I started, this is a complete tangent, I did Claire second, and obviously activated him straight away, and I was like, you know what, nope. I haven't been back. I've done my whole playthrough as Leon, but I just kind of haven't been back because it just
can't bring yourself to do it.
Yeah, but it also makes my brain stop working. Like, I had my other half sat next to me while I was playing it, and he'd already finished it, both, because he kind of, for some reason, can finish games instantly, and I take several hours. And my brain just went, I don't know how to navigate. And he was having to tell me, like, you need to go down this corridor, you need to go left or right. And I was like, don't like it. It was hard. I kind of just became a child that didn't know how to play games, just with those footsteps.
Yeah. See, once he's drawn, not like you say, we're on a massive tangent, but he's
Yeah.
drawn to noise. So as long as you don't make any noise, you never see him. So if you just don't shoot anyone, you don't see him. So you can pretty much go through a playthrough without seeing him. But
I'm
yeah,
not.
it's hard not to shoot zombies.
Yeah, I'm not great at the whole like don't shoot them. It's fine. Like no, it needs to be dead. It needs to be very dead.
Well, that's where
and then I'm
getting the
okay.
knives are important, because what you do is you take them out and then you chop their legs off, and then even if they come back up to life, they can't chase you because they've got no legs. But
This
yeah,
is.
this
I
is
feel
this is how you platinum Resident Evil 2. You see, you've got to know your stuff. You've got to be a
I
good
have
zombie
not
killer.
platinumed Resident. I've got three platinums, but one won't show up on my thing, and I'm very upset about it because for some reason the game the game is kind of bugged to the trophies on it. So I have the platinum on. If you go on my PS4, you can see it. So I have 3, but if you go on my if you're like checking my platinum, my trophies or whatever, it will only show 2. It's very frustrating. That third platinum, good. I was very proud of. Wasn't that proud?
Maybe one day they'll fix it for you. Maybe now they've heard this.
Maybe I'll send them. To be fair, I reviewed it. I probably should have put it in my review, but it was, when the PSN was down, I think about a month ago now, and there was issues. So I'd kind of presumed it was that. Turns out it wasn't. So
it might have been.
Anyway.
It might just be a residual issue.
Yeah, I suppose I could always send them like an email to their PR and be like, "Excuse me, could you maybe fix this, please? Because I need to, show everyone on the internet that I can play games. Thanks."
Yeah.
Have we lost Becky? I think maybe.
Maybe.
We will just
she's not responding.
Continue to, I guess, go through and hopefully she'll join again.
Yeah, that's the damn country internet.
I know. To be fair, my internet, I rang Sky before recording this and could kind of go, "Hi, my internet's been kind of rubbish recently," and they asked where the router was, and I was like, "Oh, it's next to the sofa. That's why it's not." And we were like, "Excuse
It's got to be on a gold box inside a horse."
Well, they were like, "Yeah, it's because it's near a sofa," and I'm like, "How can you explain to me how that works?" And they were like, "Oh, it just means it won't work." I'm like, no, that's not an explanation. You're just telling me because it's near my sofa that it. What? Coming from a person that is fairly tech-minded, I need answers here because right now you're not making any sense. So there you go, Becky. If your router's near a sofa, that's why it doesn't work.
Get it moved.
Move it, and you'll get like 1 gig download, no problem.
Shall we carry on?
We shall. But yeah, I think Becky kind of Bioshock was one of mine too, but I'd already kind of talked on that. So what's your next one?
So the next one I've written down, and there's probably going to be spoilers if no one's played it, is Valiant Hearts. And I'll go on about this and its soundtrack quite a lot. It's a really good indie game that's set in World War One. I don't know if you've played it.
I haven't. Everyone's told me to. It looks like it's really sad, and I feel like it was going to make me cry.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the epic moment. It's not really epic. It's more heartbreaking in an epic way.
Okay.
In terms of, and if you've not played it, I don't want to spoil it because I'd much rather you play it. But basically, the game follows 3 characters through a story, and their outcomes are all different. And one of them, the ending, is basically walking the character to like a shooting line, so basically to his death, and you have to do it. So you're kind of like you've spent 4 or 5 hours with this character, like trying to save him and helping with the war, to then have to walk him to his death, and it's like it's really, really moving, but it's really good. If that makes sense, it's like one of those games 100%. Where you're just like, oh my god, this has been such a good game, and now you're forcing me to do this. I'd recommend it so highly, even as a piece of education about the First World War and just how shocking it was to be that it happened to real humans. Yeah,
that sounds like everyone tells me I need to play it, and it's on my list, but it's also I'm very aware that it's the kind of thing that I probably will get quite upset about because I cry at everything because I'm one of those people. So I kind of avoiding it. Like it's a bit like if you're a Ghibli fan, it's a bit like not watching Grave of the Fireflies because it's going to be like that's an amazing movie and it's beautiful, but
it's an emotional journey. Yes, definitely. It's the kind of movie you watch once and then
I have watched it once.
Again.
I own it as part of my collection on Blu-ray, but I'm like never. My other half has not seen it, and he's all. I got him when we got together. I got him to anime and stuff. So I'm like, yes, make you watch all the things.
Makes you cry.
But it's the only one that I'm like, I'm not watching that with you. You can watch it on your own, but I'm not watching that with you. I will watch every other movie and anime and whatever, but like, nope, I'm going to go out, have some drinks. You can watch that.
It's the anime equivalent of Marley and Me.
Yeah, it's just, but it's so well, it's so good. It really, and that's a complete tangent. I feel like we've just gone.
Have you watched, was it And Then There Was Marnie? Or something like that?
No.
Which is another Ghibli one. Probably it's got Marnie in the title. That's another really good but quite moving one.
Oh no, I don't think I've seen that one. I probably have it. I went through a phase where I bought the entire collection. But I just watch whenever I'm like, ooh, I'm in a Ghibli mood. I just put Kiki's Delivery Service on.
Yeah.
It's probably I know everyone. It's like one of the fluff ones, but it's that and Princess Mononoke are like just my go-tos.
Cat Returns.
I love Cat Returns.
Yeah. When Marnie Was There, it's called. When Marnie Was There.
I probably have it. Is it one of the newer or one of the older ones that they've redone?
No, it's 2014.
Oh, okay, so it's not
fairly new.
Right?
Yeah. Again, tangent. Maybe we should do a podcast on Ghibli.
Maybe we should. Oh, I'd be very down for that. I would be all over that. So my next game, this is a spoiler for anyone that has not kind of got at least halfway through God of War. Maybe plug your ears for the next 2 minutes. But there is a moment in God of War, the PS4 one, where Kratos gets his Chaos Blades, or Blades of Chaos, sorry. And anyone that's played the previous ones know they are weapons from the previous games. And there was a bit where Athena shows up and I'm there like losing my absolute mind, jumping up and down, making noises. And my other half, who has not played the God of War games, is staring at me like I have just got out of an asylum. But that moment for me was because the new God of War, obviously, it's not a reboot. It's kind of a continuation, but they rebooted it to some degree. And for me, that moment just felt like this, like, no, it is God of War, but it is just, it's new and improved and it's shiny and it's lovely. And it was so good. I can't even express how I'm a really good writer, guys. I can't express anything today. It was so good. That moment where he picks them up and he wraps the kind of band, like the chains, around it. And then at the end of the game where there's another bit with the kind of the bandages that and I think Dan will know what I'm on about. That bit as well. It's just they're so powerful, these moments. And I just that was, I think, one of the best bits in any game I've ever played for me.
See, I've not played any other God of War games, so again, it might have been a bit lost on me as an individual.
It's still a cool moment, but yeah, if you've not got that kind of attachment, you're like, that's cool, I guess.
It's like getting the Master Sword in Zelda every time. Isn't it? Every time you get it, you're like, oh yes, now I'm king.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But no, so God of War, I think. I'll mention my last one and then we'll go on to my last one isn't necessarily particularly about the game. So it's from World of Warcraft. And it was the moment that me and my guild at the time, we managed to get it was Realm Second, I think, on a final boss in a raid. I won't go into too much because I know we don't really do PC things here. But we were kind of trying to kill this boss for like weeks and hours, and that moment of, it's like killing like a Dark Souls boss, but like times by 1,000,000. The kind of elation and the kind of adrenaline from the annoying thing was, I think the Realm First was maybe 10 minutes before, so if we'd have maybe not wiped on the previous boss that one time, we could have done it. But there's nothing quite like being on TeamSpeak with a bunch of people, like a bunch of friends, or at least my guild members were my friends, and like achieving this goal that you've been working so hard for. And I think that's a really nice thing about games, is that obviously these single player games, a lot of what we've talked about has been single player, but there are those moments where you are working as a team together to do these fantastic feats, and that's super cool as well. That's kind of my final one, is killing Madness of Deathwing, if anyone plays WoW. That means killing Madness of Deathwing. First try too, because it was Spine that was a pain, and anyone that doesn't play WoW will have no idea what I'm on about.
Yeah,
anyway,
just speaking a foreign language.
Yeah, I do this. Anyone that doesn't play WoW, and I talk to them about it, it's kind of like, and if somebody comes in and starts talking to me about like cars, I'm kind of going, this is what I sound like, isn't it? This is what, and people just go, yeah, that's it, and I'm like, okay, makes sense. But yeah, Becky, have you got one or two or?
I've got I guess I've got two. I can run through them both really quick if you want. They're both endings for video games as well, so I won't go into too much detail.
It doesn't have to be quick. That's fine. We got all the time.
Babble.
Yeah.
Both of my are indie games because I've got to stay on brand, haven't I? I can't.
This is your middle name, yeah.
Yeah. This one is the ending of Inside. Becca, have you played that?
Yeah.
It's not really like a wow moment. It's like
So
what the heck?
Earth? Yeah.
So Inside is it's this beautiful 2D puzzle platformer indie game. It's really interesting because it tackles a topic that I don't know about you, but I was playing the whole way through and I was like, I haven't got a clue what's going on. I don't have any idea what's
I finished it. I still have no idea what
exactly.
Sounds like life.
Yeah.
What's going on?
What makes the ending so interesting is that it kind of builds to this crescendo where you think, oh, there's going to be a resolve at the end and you'll get the information you've been looking for the whole way and that's the way it's going to end. And because the main game was so interesting and so, I guess, intriguing, I didn't really mind that I thought it was going to have a predictable ending and I thought, oh, I don't mind, I want to know what's happening. But then the ending you get instead is just...
It's so... you can't even... So because Becky lends me all of the amazing games.
I know, I'm just like your dealer.
I think I still have your copy.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, pretty much.
I still have my copy of Inside.
I still have a copy of Inside and Limbo because I've not finished replaying Limbo yet. I keep meaning to, but I forget. But you lent me them and I was like, oh, I'm playing Inside at the minute. I think almost finished. And you were like, oh, okay. And you smirked and I was like, what does that mean? And you're like, no, it's fine. And then I finished it and I think I text you what the actual what?
Yeah.
What? You can't even. How do you describe the end of that game? Just play it and you will see what we mean.
And find out. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like you said, even now I'm like, I don't really get it, but I love it because it's so wacky and out there.
Weird, yeah.
And I mean, it brings up some really great conversation points where I was talking to gamers and I was like, well, what do you think? And they'll go, oh, I think this. And I was like, oh, well, I kind of think this. And I think that Playdead did a really good job of making a really weird ending that they knew would get people talking. Like they just knew that it would spark conversation.
But then there's
quite
also
ambiguous, but you can read into it what you want. Yeah, sounds
there's
good.
also the secret ending of it, which
is also weird.
It's also you have because you're like, okay, closure, questions answered. No, just more questions, just loads more questions.
Exactly that. So that's one of mine where I'll never forget that. And I was playing that with Jack at the time. We both looked at each other and we were like, what is going on? What is this game that we're playing? My other one is another finale piece, but it's kind of it's memorable for a different reason, and it's the ending of Journey. Journey's another indie game that I absolutely love. It's set in this desert location in the sand dunes, and you play as a lone robed figure going through the sands, and the only thing you know is that you've got to reach the top of this mountain. As you go through, you kind of go through different environments, and there's underwatery-ish levels, if you can say that, if you know what I mean. You can do it with friends. Sometimes you meet random other people who are randomly playing and you join up with them. And once again, just like Inside, it builds to a crescendo. But this time it's one of the endings that kind of it comes together with the music and with the visuals and the gameplay to make a really powerful and quite sad ending. You play it and you're like, oh God, is this what I think it is? Is this representing... Because Journey is a part of life. Journey is meant to be, this is a story about life. So the ending is, wow. It's one of those things where you play it and you're like, oh my God, it's hard hitting. And then after the ending's over, you're like, oh, there's more. And then that kind of opens on that as well. But that's another thing. I mean, I listen to the Journey soundtrack quite a lot, and it's always the end tracks that always get me because I can instantly put myself in the screen. I know exactly what's happening on screen and I can sort of go through that. So for me, that was another one where I'm like, wow, that's something that I won't forget. And every time I play Journey, and I kind of play it semi-regularly, maybe once or twice a year, I'm always excited for that moment, even though I know it's coming, because every time I play it, it almost feels as though it's bigger than the last time I played it. It's like, oh, it's grown a bit of it. So that's one I really enjoy as well.
Your relationship with that sounds like the one that I had with the game I spoke about before you disappeared, with Valiant Hearts, and
yes, yeah,
you know what's going to happen, and you're playing towards it, and it's good, but at the same time, you don't want to do it. where you don't
Exactly.
want it to happen. Yeah, and the music in that as well. You know, the last track of the soundtrack to that is also quite tear-inducing. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, that is me.
I've got a couple more if I
Yeah.
can interject. So mine, I'm going to go back a little bit. So I don't know, you guys may not have experienced these or not. So Link to the Past on the SNES, on the Super Nintendo, when you basically, and it's a bit like Ocarina of Time, I suppose, in that your first few dungeons and missions are building up towards what you believe to be the end of the game. So you're kind of collecting something to save the princess and kill the bad guy. And then all of a sudden, you realize that there's a whole other world, or in Link to the Past's case, the world is mirrored as a dark world. So you kind of finish what you think you're going to do, and then all of a sudden the world doubles in size. And kind of back in the 90s, when I was however young playing it, it was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like, why did that happen? And it was just such a good moment in gaming, and it's almost spoiled other moments like that for me. Like with Ocarina of Time, when you get the first 3 stones and then you put the sword in the stone and you become adult Link, it's a bit like, oh, it's just like Link to the Past when you find the Dark World. You know,
I see.
It's kind of like one of those moments where you know a game's going to open up because you've experienced it before. But for me, Link to the Past was the first time that happened, and that first kind of moment of, okay, the world is bigger than what you first believed it to be.
You
there's
feel
loads
like
of games
smaller suddenly. You're like, oh, this is this. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great. It's a great.
And also, you're a bit like, yes, it's not the end.
Yeah, no, I have more to play.
Yeah. So that's one of them. And then the other one is, and again, it's more of a part of a game than an actual moment. But the Metal Gear Solid 2, the kind of not the prequel, what do you call it? Like the prelude. So when it's Snake and he's running along the bridge in the rain and he jumps off the bridge and he lands on a tanker, and then that whole moment where you're Snake and you're killing the guards on the tanker to find where the Metal Gear is that they're like sneaking into the country. Just that whole bit, because Metal Gear 1 on the PS1's obviously of its time. It was a 32-bit third-person game. It didn't look amazing, but it was a great game. But Metal Gear 2, all of a sudden, everything looked amazing. The sound was brilliant. The stealth was brilliant. And again, it was one of those moments where it was almost like gaming's grown up. This is brilliant. It's like got film production values and things. So a lot of people, I think, look back at that Metal Gear Solid 2 tanker section as a real pivotal moment in gaming. I don't know if any of you guys have played that. Probably not.
I have not played any of the Metal Gear games.
I have not either.
Everyone gets really mad at me about it.
There was another one of mine was going to be Metal Gear 4, because the opening cutscene is of like Snake and some army men in the back of an army truck going through Afghanistan or whatever, and then he jumps out of the truck and then stands still, and you're like, this is a crap cutscene. Why is oh, hold on a minute, it's the game. And you're like, oh my god, it looks amazing. So that's another moment.
I love those moments when games kind of bleed into their cutscenes and stuff. I think that's so, like when the God awarded that, where they didn't do a single like jump cut other than obviously when you died. That was just so
it's great, isn't it? And it just shows how much we take it for granted, I suppose. Nowadays.
Such a masterpiece, that game. Just everything about it. Just apart from the Valkyries, they can go to hell, but everything else was perfect.
They were the best bits.
Oh no, don't even get me started.
Those bits, no, man. See, I like, and again, we're going on a tangent, but combat games, but when Platinum Games make them, so like Nier Automata and Transformers Devastation, where you've got to be so precise with your button presses. And Becky, you obviously get this from Dark Souls and Sekiro. God of War, the Valkyries, you've got to be kind of, without being big-headed, you've got to be on your game to kill them, especially on hard. And I love that challenge, and going in and like taking them out without being hit or dying. You just feel brilliant when you do it. A bit like your World of Warcraft moment.
Yeah, no, there's that. Yeah, I know, I get it, because I mean I like Sekiro and stuff too, and I do get that moment. I just the Valkyrie Queen, right? She's just not fun, Dan. You can't tell me that fight is fun. Okay, you can. The rest of them fine. That fight, it was just, you know, when she would get you with a heel and you'd be stomped into the dirt, and then but you would then die from that. So then I don't know if this has been patched now, but Atreus then would not be able to revive you when you died in the kind of
Okay, I
cutscene
don't remember that.
animation. Yeah. If you died during any of the animations, it wouldn't let you revive. And the amount of times that I had her on like pixel health all at the time, and then she'd do that move and I'd get hit because I was like, because I'm the kind of person of like, how much damage can I do? Like damage.
Push it to the edge.
Yeah. So I would I'd get greedy, I'd get hit, and then I wouldn't be able to revive, even though I had a stone, because he would do the animation, he'd run to you, do the stone and the little knife thing, but then it would like fade to black and then it would load again.
Right.
And that annoyed me. I'm guessing that's probably a bug that's been patched. But that I still don't have the platinum from that game because of that fight. Because I just was like, I'm just as annoyed, and I refuse to put it on a lower difficulty because I am stubborn.
That's cheating.
So so I just but I love that. Like, I mean, it don't even, if the next game is entirely Valkyries, I don't really care. Just give me another one, please.
I quite liked the idea of what they were though, and I can't remember 100%, but the Valkyrie story was really good. It was as a side story.
I mean, I didn't end up killing her. I will one day, it'll happen, and I'll do a podcast about it entirely in that fight. After that you find out who the Valkyrie Queen actually is, which I loved that. Loved that twist. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but that whole game, there were so many twists and turns, and it's not got a podcast back and stop it.
Do you want a sequel though? It's
yes.
a bit like with last, but don't you hold it so sacred that whatever they do isn't going to be good enough?
I do, but I trust Sony Santa Monica, and I trust Corey. He's been doing God of War for so long that I feel like they will do it justice. I'm guessing you went home after the end of the game?
Yes, yeah.
So that, I mean, I literally could do a podcast on this alone, but that scene, I think, leaves so much to kind of that they could do with it, because I don't think that was an aggressive scene, is all I'll say.
Right. Okay.
I think that is possibly somebody asking for help.
Yeah.
Because of what's to come. But that, again, a whole other, I could talk about this for hours.
It's a good topic actually about, because, and again, slightly off tangent, but we've just finished watching Stranger Things 3, and for me, I'm like, I don't want any more. Like, leave it alone because it's so good. Stop dragging it through don't bring it back to drag it through the mud. And I feel like that with a lot of things, and it's quite an interesting thing where you want more because you love it.
You don't want them to
ruin it, which is why remasters are good.
No, I agree. There's certain franchises. However, it's like with The Last of Us 2. When they first announced that, I was like, nope, no, that game is perfect.
Yeah. Don't need to add any more.
They don't need to. Yeah, the more I've seen, I think it probably very on brand for me. The Ellie scene where we're like, Ellie's lesbian. Oh my god. Not just that was what that was about, but that kind of moment of like we kind of knew anyway, but having that confirmed in that like the trailer and stuff, and that for me was the moment where I was like, okay, just because Ellie, I love you, and I need to see more of you in a game. But I was very kind of trepidatious at first because that game is so perfect.
Yeah.
And I can entirely get where you're coming from. But I think for me at the minute, God of War, I could maybe do with another one or two, especially if they do different mythologies.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Because they hinted towards it throughout. There was a lot of that in, like, especially in Tyr's Temple and stuff. There was a lot of kind of Egyptian and various other mythology-esque stuff hidden away, and I think if they maybe took it and we went from Greek to Norse, so where could we go? Kind of I think Egyptian would be cool, but anyway, that's a complete
exactly, that's like another hour or so of chat.
So I think that's all of our kind of wow moments in gaming. Just quickly, what we've been playing this week. For me, I played Sea of Solitude, which I know Becky also, I think you played that, which is really, really good. Anybody that loves kind of indie kind of story-driven games, you need to check it out. It kind of follows the developers' kind of not life story, but kind of
a personal project, isn't it?
Yeah, it's it kind of goes into like loneliness and like depression and dealing with kind of inner demons. And for me, I it really resonated with me in a way that I wasn't sure it would at first. The first kind of little bit, I was like, it's maybe a little bit on the nose. However, I completely ate my words. By the end of the game, I love it. I think it's great. It's beautiful as well.
I was going to add that the graphics they're like, it kind of reminded me of like almost a Wind Waker-y vibe with really soft cell shaded graphics. And then there's quite a few sequences where you're like above a city. I think they show that in a trailer. And you can see underneath the water and everything is like beautiful and bright and it's really good to look at. It is easy on the eyes. You will love it, Dan.
Yeah, I look forward to it. It sounds a bit like Rhyme in its visuals.
Actually, do you know what? It is a bit like Rhyme.
And I loved that. That was a great game.
So yeah, it's also quite, which I like. People always say this is a negative, but it's quite short. So I think I did it. I want to say like 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours, which I never think that's a bad thing in a game. I always think a game that can kind of take you on a journey without dragging it out too much and because I love my big games, but occasionally you get to the point like Days Gone, you're like, okay, I just want to be done with this now, maybe. Whereas this was a nice self-contained, really great story, and just beautiful to look at, really. So it's only, I think, $15.99 on the PSN store. Not sponsored, but if they want to, not complaining. But yeah, so you should check it out, everybody out there. What about you, Becky? I've been playing this week.
So Sea of Solitude as well. And to be fair, like I haven't really been playing that much because I've been working so much. I think honestly just Sea of Solitude.
That's my only thing this week.
Until the next one comes in. I've replayed a little bit of What Remains of Edith Finch. I'm gonna actually sit down and dedicate like an entire run through of that, but I just wanted to see how it fared on the Nintendo Switch, and happy to report that it looks as stunning as it usually does. Not doing a review for that, but I'm going to do a podcast on it, so I'm definitely going to dedicate a few hours to just sitting down and immersing myself in the story again. But it has mostly been Sea of Solitude, and it, like you, I think I did it in 2 sittings. I took it on holiday with me. I just did it on holiday, and it was really nice because I was playing obviously in a sea setting and I could see the sea from my balcony. And I was like, this is great. But yeah, it's about 5 hours, so it's good for like an afternoon or an evening sitting.
Sounds perfect.
You will honestly love it.
Yeah, so I've a bit like Becca. I'm on Big Game Come Down, so I just finished. I say just, probably 2 weeks ago. I don't play much anymore. Platinum Spider-Man. So I kind of the ending on that is, again, we talk about for ages. It's brilliant.
That was one of my things that I'd written down, but I was like, I don't know if that was more of a sad moment. I cried.
Yeah, I suppose, but it's also it's definitely setting it up for more, isn't it?
Without spoiling it.
Yeah. So, and I've got slight issues with the game in other places, but that bit's definitely really good. So yeah, I kind of finished that, doing all of that. So I didn't want to jump straight into Days Gone, which I've also got. I was going to start Plague and Innocent's Tale. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So both those games are great. You should play them.
Yeah. I haven't got that either. But I get sent games from, and I can never say their name, Ratalaika Games. So they got the dog as their logo, and they send me games for my blog. So I had a massive backlog of those, and they take 2 hours or so to kind of finish. So I've just been playing through those. It's been quite nice to play a scrolling beat 'em up, then a like a infinite bird flying game, and then all these different genres. But one of them, Paradox Soul, is really good, and I'd really recommend that. It's a Metroidvania game set in an Icelandic nuclear bunker. It's just quite cool. It looks really smart. It's got a good soundtrack. It's really easy, but it's a good little game, and it's a nice way to pass a couple of hours, without the commitment of a 40-hour kind of world to explore. So yeah, I've been playing games like that, to be honest, lately, and hoping to get Sea of Solitude, but I really want them to bring it out physically. I don't want to pay £16 for a digital game.
I mean, do you keep an eye on limited run games?
Yes, I've got.
Yeah, that's what I would.
I'm hoping.
Very recently they did Night in the Woods, and I was like, I really want to get it, but I've already played it and I can't justify, like, it's on my PS4.
I've got a few games.
Have you? I just can't do.
I see you got Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, I got the first one, but I
Oh.
sold it to my little brother because I couldn't get the second one. So I was like, if I can't have the collection, I don't want it all.
See, Jack and Dexter's one of my. If they do a new Jack and Dexter game, I'll cry. Like one of my favorite. So I saw that and I was like, I need it, but I was like, no, I don't. I can't. Like I already have them all on my PS4 as downloads. Like I don't have the space for more boxes. Like just don't do it. And then I saw you got them. I was like, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. No, I don't have it anymore. I got Firewatch,
Oh,
Oceanborn,
Firewatch is a great
Reverie.
one.
Yeah, I've got quite a few.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
But yeah, hopefully Sea of Solitude. I think if it does well, I do think they will do
I
it.
think, I mean, the reviews have been, I think 8 out of 10 and stuff. So it's been like received fairly positively in the kind of critic atmosphere. I've not really spoken to anyone that kind of has played it that's just kind of picked it up on the off chance, but I hope it does well because it is. I will say this is a bit of a shame. People on their kind of, I think EA's like Facebook or Twitter, just saying they're not gonna get it because it's published by EA.
Yeah.
Which is it's such a shame because it's not an EA. I mean, it's published by them, but the developers, I can't remember who they are right now. Becky, help.
Joy Me, isn't it?
Yeah, Joy Me Games.
Yeah, thank you. They have made this wonderful game and it deserves to be played. And so what? EA is publishing it. Like they're EA. Okay, they have games that are not great and they try and make money, but at the end of the day, it's what everyone's trying to do. Just play the good game, please. So I thought that was really sad when I saw that. I didn't put anything back because I don't tend to dive in on stuff like that.
Don't feed the trolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But people kind of going, oh, it's EA. It's going to be money grabbing. I'm like, it's a single player experience. There's no microtransactions. There's no online. It's just such a shame.
It's just you in the game. I think it is the problem though. Like loads of people have this reputation. Loads of developers where it's like, oh well, you developed it and then you published it, and we're not sure if we feel about supporting that publisher. But Sea of Solitude is. I mean, like, I wouldn't have known. Do you know what I mean? It was an EA published game.
And you're punished because all the EA are doing is bankrolling it essentially. Like they don't have an input as far as I know and can tell. No input in the story, no input in the gameplay. They are purely, we are helping you get this out in the world. That's it's the same as like kind of Activision and Call of Duty and stuff. Like they own the IP, but it technically is the teams that work on it, and it's just this is a topic I could talk about for hours. People kind of brandishing like publishers and stuff as evil when it's like not that bad. I mean, sometimes the people who work for them are terrible and they do bad things and etc. However, you need to look further than that, and that was a tangent. Anyway.
Easier said than done sometimes, though.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, so I think we will wrap it up there. There's not really much coming out next week. We kind of had a little chat about this before we started recording. There's, I think, Dragon Quest Builders 2 is coming out on Friday or tomorrow, depending on when this podcast goes live. There's God Eater 3 is coming out on the Switch. I don't think there's much else really. Oh, Hollow Knight's getting a physical release, which is exciting.
That's exciting. I need to play that.
It's so good. I maybe pre-ordered it just because I want the pin badge. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I already own the game. I've already played it, but I just want the pin badge that comes with the pre-order of the physical one because I like pin badges. But I don't think, is there anything you guys looking forward to next week? I don't think there was much.
No.
The Hollow Knight thing's exciting. I didn't realize that was next week.
Yeah, it's literally, well, again, when this goes live, it's out on the 12th, so tomorrow, as we're recording. But it'll probably go live tomorrow, so it's out today. Yay!
How exciting! I might look into that. Everyone always tells me I need to play Hollow Knight, and because everyone's like, oh, it's kind of got like Soulsborne-y themes, like it's got these really tricky battles in them, and I've always like never had enough time for it, but if I get my work done, maybe I can have a treat.
Don't say that. You jinxed it now. You're going to get like emails from a bunch of different editors like, I
need
some more work.
I secretly love doing work, so I'm like, bring it on.
You get to play games and write about them. It's pretty enjoyable.
It's very good.
Also lots of hard work though. I'm not going to try and diminish that at all.
Oh no, it's very fun though. I'm very lucky.
Cool. So I think we will wrap up here. So if you guys have missed the kind of dulcet tones of Rebecca and Dan, where can everyone find you, Becky?
So I'm on Twitter at RebeccaStowe97, and then I do a podcast. I've kind of been talking about the podcast a lot on this episode. Becca and Dan have actually been on the podcast. It's called Game Chats, and you can find it via my YouTube, which is just Rebecca Stowe.
Cool. And Dan, where can everyone stalk you
Yeah, cool. So I'm on Twitter also. My underscore name is underscore Dan. Unfortunately, it's a crap handle. And
Mine's worse,
yeah,
don't worry.
at least you don't have any underscores or a kind of fake punctuation.
No.
Yeah, and then yeah, so I blog occasionally on travels in gaming when I've got time, but it's not very often. But yeah, people can check it out if they want. So yeah, that's me.
So we'll wrap up there. As always, please like and retweet and 5-star and all of the. I need to probably get this down slightly better. I feel like Joe listens to this and just cringes. Just kind of show us some love. We would appreciate that. There's also we do have a Patreon account if you want to give a little bit extra. Not that you have to, but it's there. And yeah, we will see you next time for 101. If you guys have any questions you'd like us to answer, any topics you'd like us to talk about, or anything of the sort, do let us know. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.